Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. I read an advanced copy of Gabriel Bump's book, The New Normals, back when I was still on parental leave. And maybe that wasn't the best idea because it opens with this really intense passage about a couple losing their child. And that's what sparks their search for a utopia. It's beautifully written in a way that hurts, you know? And Bump talked about it to NPR's Ayesha Rascoe, and he said that he wrote that part years and years ago, and then he got married, and then they lost a baby. After the break, listen to him talk about accepting change, both on a personal level and societal level, and how he found his way through it all.
This message comes from Apple. Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones, friends, or family. They can use Apple Gift Card to buy Apple products, accessories, apps, and games. But they can also use the funds to pay for music, movies, TV shows, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
The new novel by Gabriel Bump, The New Naturals, starts with a devastating loss. A pair of young Black academics are left bereft following the death of their infant daughter. The story charts their descent into grief and ultimately their journey underground, where they hope to create a utopia carved out of a hillside in western Massachusetts. But it's a project that doesn't go according to plan. Gabriel Bump teaches literature at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and his debut novel, Everywhere You Don't Belong, was named a New York Times Notable Book of 2020. He joins us now from New York. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for the introduction, Ayesha. I'm really excited.
Well, I'm glad for you to be on talking with us. So the opening of the book is very jarring. You have this couple, the mother, Rio, and the father, Gibraltar. They're dealing with the loss of their daughter. Can you talk to me about those two characters?
Yeah, I guess when I was writing this book and I was trying to figure out what could make these people just really want to escape the world, what would be the thing that pushes them over the edge? And I imagine just what the worst thing that could happen, in this way that writers sometimes do, right? Think about the most dramatic action.
It seemed like, though, even before the death of their baby, that they were already kind of trying to escape. They had moved out to, moved away from the city. And
Yeah. And I mean, I guess it's the difference between someone in, New York moving upstate because they're kind of sick of what's happening to the city, or feel kind of like the city's unaffordable, just all these different reasons. And taking that extra extreme step to say, okay, we're living in the woods isn't enough. We're going to go underground. We are going to retreat totally from the world. And I know I can empathize with a lot. Just especially now, and maybe the past couple years, it's felt like this too, but the world is just so overwhelming.
Well, can I ask you then, because a lot of the book is written, it's almost like stream of consciousness. There are all these different characters who aren't necessarily connected, but they're all searching for meaning. Talk to me about your writing style. When I was reading it, it felt like each chapter almost felt like a story unto itself.
Yeah, and I wanted to really focus on these characters at an emotional level. I feel like it's a very emotional book, even though there's this grand experiment happening. It's really personal, and even the writing felt really personal. Because when I started writing this book, I was kind of going through a hard time in my personal life. Was just feeling kind of down and out. None of my characters are me, but this character Bounce, this young man that just can't seem to set his foot right in the world. Nothing seems to go his way. That's how I felt, and so in those, I guess, vignettes, these maybe just stories unto themselves, it's okay, here are these people in one specific moment on their journey. How are they coping and where are they moving towards?
You said you felt some similarities with Bounce. I just wonder that, your debut novel was named a New York Times notable book. Like, why would you feel like things weren't going right for you?
So I started writing this book before my first book came out.
Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, so you didn't know where you was going. Okay.
No, man. And before that, and that's why I'm kind of feeling more just relaxed with this second book, just feeling, I don't like zen or something. Because before that first book comes out, it really does feel like your whole life is riding on this thing.
This story is set up against the backdrop of kind of chaos in the U.S. and chaos around the world. How much were you influenced by current events?
Well, yeah, and it felt like in 2018 when I started writing this, it just felt like the world wasn't in the right spot. Like everything was just feeling kind of off the rails.
And this was before the pandemic, so you were feeling this way before
This is this is before the pandemic. This is before January 6th. This is before the George Floyd protests and uprising. Certainly before our two kind of large scale wars happening simultaneously in the world. And the lesson I learned from that hard time 5 years ago is I'm married now, so I'm leaning a lot on my wife, not just my immediate family, but her immediate family. We're all kind of finding comfort in each other, and it helps. It does make the world feel less chaotic. But I don't know, when I think about change, there's just so many different types of change that we experience. So I can use one from just my personal life. So this year, my wife and I experienced a late term miscarriage with our daughters at 20 weeks.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, thank you. And so my perception of change, and again, even as this book, so when I said that Rio and Gibraltar, this husband and wife losing their daughter, I wrote that 5 years ago just as this, trying to figure out what's the worst thing that could happen to people. And so it ended up happening to my wife and I, right? And we were recently married, and we're so excited. Our life was changing in the most beautiful way possible. And then just one day it changes in the worst way imaginable. And I think that how I've come to accept all different kinds of change, both personal and societal, is by welcoming change in this way, trying to keep myself and those around me solid and just saying, okay, whatever comes, we're going to be ready for it. We're going to love each other. We're going to deal with it.
Is that the utopia then you think that these characters in the book are really looking for? Is it the connection with each other?
Yeah, I think that's what they end up finding, right? I don't know if, the initial plan was different. And I think that what ends up being most important is this utopia they find in each other.
That's Gabriel Bump, whose new novel, The New Naturals, is out this week. Thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thank you so much, Ayesha.
This message comes from Tinkercast. For curious kids and grown-ups, Wow in the World is an adventure-filled, cartoon-for-the-ear podcast all about amazing innovations in science and technology. Listen to Wow in the World early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from South Carolina Federal Credit Union, a member-owned financial institution. South Carolina Federal is dedicated to serving your financial needs and investing in the South Carolina communities where you live and work. Visit scfederal.org. Support for this podcast and the following message come from South Carolina Federal Credit Union, a member-owned financial institution serving 6 major markets across South Carolina. Their warm, welcoming, and friendly staff are eager to help you turn your financial dreams into a reality. South Carolina Federal Credit Union invites you to become part of their family today. Learn more at scfederal.org, insured by NCUA.